I'm Trek with 2Ks. Why did it do that? All right, let's try this again. Hola, hola, buenos noches, buenos dias, buenos tardes, GnGs. My name is Trek with 2Ks, and this is Trek with 2K Live, aka Trek Talk. I just want to say it's a Monday. I hope y'all had a good weekend. I had the crazy, let's say like the last 3 days was just some like, man, the last 3 days was something. Um, and yeah, it's been interesting to say the least, y'all. Nonetheless, I am as usual running later than I need to on this crypto talk stuff or like this Trek talk stuff. And as you know, if you've been following for a minute, I'm not a price talk kind of guy. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA, but I just been around the space for a minute. And arguably, I have unk/elder status. I should have put that in the hashtag unk, hashtag unk status. Not to say I'm out here balling. I'm not being a crypto bro or none of that fun stuff. But again, just been around the space for a minute, and I've been making my comments just for how I've seen the space move. Some people agree with me, some people don't. It's cool, I don't take it no way. But nonetheless, we're gonna get into some things today. Uh, as I for the folks who've been on the YouTube side who've been following me for a bit, like, so I told y'all I was like experimenting with different things going on, like, well, how to push out the content and stuff, right? Real quick, if y'all got me on the YouTube side, could you let me know if you hear me? Am I coming in? On the Twitter side, I'm trying to figure out that part right now. So that is part of like what I've been experimenting with. So I gave in to do a test on the blue check box, right? So got the whole blue check thing going on now. I'm inching my way back into Twitter. Probably not doing it as hard as I probably should, but I am inching my way back into Twitter. And, I jump in on things here and there as far as like reposts or like coming up. All right, thank you. I appreciate Prospector and Timenden. And all right, cool. Thank y'all. I appreciate. So over here, doing these different kind of experiment things. Yo, what's crazy? Well, not crazy, but it's interesting to note as far as how the viewership side is going, the numbers will add up later on the YouTube side, right? So let's say like over the next 5-7 days, it'll get into the couple hundred view count. But as far as the live go, I only been messing with the Twitter side for like less than a month. I want to say it's only been like what, 3, maybe a month now. And the Twitter side is where it's catching the view part at right now. I don't know if that also has to do with the whole posting out about going on the live, but we're gonna still give it a good 3-4 months to see, like, is this really what it is? nonetheless, I appreciate the folks on Twitch who check in on the live on Twitch. I appreciate the folks um on YouTube who check in on that side. If you're on my actual channel or if you're on the Gentleman of Crypto channel, and I definitely appreciate the folks who are tapping in on the Twitter, aka X side of it. And yeah, we're just gonna, run this forward and see how it work out. So yeah, good couple of 3-4 months down the road, we'll come back to see, like, was it worth I don't even remember how much the blue thing costs right now to do the premium account, because like with Restream, it's certain platforms you can't stream on unless you're doing the upgrade on that side to have the access. So you need the premium X in order to be able to do the streaming on Restream. But whatever, that's enough of the behind the scenes stuff. I must still say this as a shout out to Restream for making it that you don't have to have your camera and your mic on at the, like, when you initially turn on. Thank y'all for that update. Finally, it makes it so much easier to do the whole the no face thing with the with how the stream goes. This doesn't mean I'm not gonna work to get back to doing on camera, face on camera stuff. It's just a number of other things going on right now that it's not the higher priority of things. And plus I'm experimenting with this other stuff, right? So as we also see, I've been messing around with Grok. I've been using Grok to take my actual images and then seeing like what kind of anime style stuff it come up with. I'm gonna give a critique on, and I think we've had this issue for a while now in terms of like some of this general AI stuff, but Grok is not good with black people's skin. Point blank, simple as it is, compared to other AIs that you can mess with to do like messing around and doing like picture curations and stuff. Grok is not good with messing with black people's skin, even in the anime style stuff. But I'm just throwing that out there for now. But again, I'm gonna still be messing around with it for a little bit longer, just to see like how it progresses as it moves forward under the leadership of Musk. Interesting thing to note, total side note. What is it? Twitter is managed, or Elon did some funny thing where he sold Twitter to the company, I think that he has Grok like created by, but it's some weird funny thing that he did for like how the ownership of X, aka Twitter, works now. And I just happened to see a clip the other day on YouTube explaining it, and I was like, holy, like, how did no one talk about this, or like how is no one making this a bigger thing? I don't know, but nonetheless, hey, what's going on, Battle? But yeah, so let's jump into some of these these bookmarks for the things that scratch my brain, right? Like I said, oh, you know what, let me jump into this first joint not related to the bookmark stuff. So like I said, the last like 3 days have been a emotional mental roller coaster on the end of, right? So how do we do this? Thursday, this is the scam story. It's not a crypto related scam story, but it's a scam story. I get a call. It's from a private number. Generally, for context, my ex, of my ex, who is the mother of my daughter, she usually calls me from that type of number. So I'm thinking she's calling me to talk about my daughter's birthday. And I'm like, all right, hey, what's going on? And I get excuse me, can I speak to Mr. Blah, blah, blah? This is Sergeant Lucas Johnson of the blah, blah, blah Sheriff's Department. I'm like, what's going on? What's this about? Is this such and such? What are we calling a reference to? What's going on? Well, this is a matter pertaining a court appearance for jury duty. Now, mind you, y'all got to understand, right? In background context, and it's going to make more sense as I'm going through this story. So basically, I'm getting a call being asked, why did I not show up to jury duty for a federal court case? I go, well, how was I supposed to know I'm supposed to be at this thing? Well, you signed a certified letter back in March. I go, hold on, let me whip out my calendar. I go through my calendar. It happens to be on a day when I'm like, nah, I couldn't have been around to sign that. No way. Okay, well, we'll put this up as fraud. Now, you got to understand, those of you who've been following me for a while, the warriors over on the YouTube side, the folks who know a little bit more about me, y'all know what the gang is, green suiters, right? When things come up legally speaking, because of what I'm doing now, it's just like, oh, well, I can't play around with any of that stuff, right? And so once he started saying certain words, my brain is automatically starting to go, oh, snap, you about to mess me up right now. I can't have this situation progress to anything that can mess me up with my W-2 day job business. Not business as in like I run a business, but as far as like this my work stuff. And so now he's like, well, we can do a signature comparison, but you'll have to come in for that. And he's saying certain things that have me now worrying about this security clearance stuff because of my work and connection for what I do in the gang realm. Okay. And I'm over here slowly but surely getting worked up. And at a certain point, I said to him, I said, is this going to involve money? Because it sounds like this is going to involve money. He says, no, sir, we cannot ask for money in pertaining to this activity. This line cannot be used to communicate about the cost or pricing. And he says some other stuff. I'm really paraphrasing and messing up how I'm saying it. But he's basically saying like, no, I'm not asking you for money as we're talking in this conversation as it pertains to this subject right now. And I want y'all to also keep in mind, like, for the folks who are like, bro, you get in, like, you instantly heard it and it's like, oh, you just got scammed. Like that's what it is. You instantly took it as that. But you got to understand there's background stuff going on for what I'm dealing with, that like I can't automatically just write it off and start cursing the dude out on the phone or something. I have to wait. Let me see, where is this going? Like, is this a thing? Because if it's a thing, I cannot let this affect how I'm bringing my money in. Right. And so now here we go. He's going through the whole thing of like, well, okay, so here's how we have to deal with this. You can come in, we'll do this comparison on this whole signature thing, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm thinking about like, well, how the hell does that work that you can compare the signatures? Da, 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 da. He's like, no, well, that was when the certified letter was signed. All right, fine. Okay, so that's one issue acknowledged. Then we get into the whole thing of like how I have to deal with the citations, because now he's telling me if I don't deal with these citations today before midnight, it will turn into a bench warrant. Y'all, when I tell you mentally in my brain, I was on 100. And I'm over here trying to be respectful in that you can't, like, you can get aggy about the situation, but you can't necessarily be aggy with the person, because like if the person is doing their job, and this is on the end of you thinking it's an up and up thing, you can't be quote mad at the person. You can't like go curse out the person, get smart about, because it's not the person. If this was a actual real situation, doing this is just like what the process is. So here I am going, all right, what's the other part of this? So we get into, well, how do I deal with this? All right, well, here's how you would deal with it. You have either you turn yourself into a sheriff's department. You can go to the sheriff's office, and he doesn't give me a specific place to go. He's just saying you could turn yourself in at a sheriff's office. You can get booked. This is a Thursday. In my mind, I'm going, wait a minute. If I get booked, turn myself in, then I got to go through, somebody has to come to that office of where I'm at. I got to go through that verification process. Mind you, I'm in uniform. So in my mind right now, it's just like, so I'm not even going to go home. I'm just going to go straight to wherever this is and then like be in uniform, which I don't know. I feel like this would look mad weird if you locking up a soldier in uniform, but whatever. Right. So now I'm not saying this to the guy. I'm just going, okay, so I would have to go to the sheriff place, do the turn in. The thought process is it's a Thursday. I might be able to get seen on a Friday by a judge, but you're right. Listen, it was a lot of other things going on at the time that like had me on some like, whoa, hold on. I got to deal with this. So now what is it? The lockup thing. So I'm going, well, I can't be locked up. Like I can't be sitting in a cell somewhere waiting for this situation to pan out because my daughter's birthday was on. Well, I was celebrating my daughter's birthday on Friday. So I'm supposed to be up north with her on Friday. And in my mind, this is like, yo, like, nah, bro, like you're not about to screw me up like this. And then it's like you go in on a Friday, you don't get seen on Friday. That means you sitting through the whole weekend until Monday. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like, yo, you trying to tell me I'm about to get disappeared? Like, what? Nah, I'm not for this. Hey, what is option 2? Here's where it starts to get extra. All right, so Mr. Trek, you have 2 citations, and so let me explain the process and what you have to do and how it'll go for you to be able to alleviate the situation today, because if not, then it would be pushed forward to being a bench warrant. And then he does something where he tells me what the case was about, and I'm like, yo, I don't care what the case is about. I need to deal with this situation right now. Again, background, right? The following day, I'm supposed to go and have birthday time with my daughter. The next day after that, I got to go all the way down to Florida to deal with stuff with my mom's, and then be back by Sunday to deal with stuff. No, what is that? Be back by no later than Monday, right? So there's a lot of movements over the last 3-4 days. I've been through like 5 states. Okay. This is all of the stuff going around in my head in the background, and he's saying certain things that's pushing my buttons. The other part to note is I ended up applying for 4 other jobs in like the previous 2 to 3 weeks. One of those particular jobs, I have to basically get my security clearance upgraded. So he's saying certain things, and I'm not telling him certain, like some of the other stuff going on in my head, but it's just like, yo, I can't have this situation play out in any negative way. Why? Because it then messes me up for that potential job. Not to mention it messes me up with the current job because of what I do now, right? So I'm over here just mentally panicking. Then we get into, now I should also add, during multiple points of the conversation so far, this person has said to me, hey, no, not hey, but I go, this sounds like I'm gonna need to pay something. And he reiterates again, no, this line cannot be used to for payment. This is not gonna be a conversation and where I will have to get money from you. This is said multiple times. Got you. Let's get to these citations. We get to the citations. He gives me what sounds like a legible citation, like docket number. And I'm like, all right, how much is this? Citation 1, $6K. I said, what? Who you think got 6K just sitting around to give over to the government? Nah, not this guy. Listen, Mr. Wells. Listen, it's getting crazy out here, bro. Hey, what's going on? Big Boston, BB. All right, what's up, man? So now here you have it that he says that, and I'm just like, this is not happening. He's like, no, listen, Mr. Trek, like, just understand, like, let me finish the process of explaining to you what the procedure is and what the rest of the stuff is, and then and mind you, he has like a southern twang speech. Like, this ain't no northern guy. This is somebody like Georgia, maybe like Tennessee, Mississippi area. So now he tells me the second one. The second one is 6K too. I said, listen, my guy, I know I need to deal with this, but the way that you're saying this to me, either of these situations puts me in a bind. And then on top of it, you're telling me I got to go back to my job and tell them I need to leave now in order to go to the court thing, but I can't tell them, because then he tells me this whole other thing about like how I'm on a gag order. Once I agree to like hear the rest of the stuff, I'm on a gag order where I can't talk about the court, the case, and I can't talk about the phone call. And I was like, yo, make this make sense in practicality. Again, I'm worked up because I'm thinking about all the other things that this would mess up for me if this is a real thing. If this is a real situation, yes, 100%. And so I'm over here mentally panicking out because of the number of things it would mess me up on. So now I make it back to my job. I'm speaking to one of the supervisors, and I'm like, hey, I'm on a recorded call right now. I need to leave to go deal with a situation. Thankfully, for how this situation works, that supervisor's cool with it, and I'm about to make my way. I'm walking back to my other building, about to grab my stuff to leave. Like I said, I'm in uniform, so I'm going straight. Like, we're going to deal with this and see how this play out. The other thing to note, so he tells me what each one of the citations are. This is before I walk up to see this the other supervisor. And he's like, well, you can also apply for a hardship. All right, let's see how this works out. So he's like, all right, so which option do you want to go with? And I'm like, you know what? Let's roll the dice and see how option 2 work out. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call a supervisor, then I'm gonna have them take over the phone call, and then they'll work to transfer you over to the financial department that will deal with that. So I'm like, hey, hold on a second. What's the address for, like, what's your name again? And I asked him some other stuff, and I started writing stuff down. And so when I asked him something about where's, like, this should have been, it's a number of things that should have been the trigger for me to be like, this is bullshit. But again, I got all the other things going on in my mind that relate to, I can't have any legal issues because of the job application stuff, and then because of the current job I have, and I cannot, quote, just be disappeared because I need to go spend time with my kids, right? And then I got other stuff happening where I got to go help my mother in a whole nother state and deal with stuff with that. Tickets already purchased, right? So now I'm having all of these things go on in my head. Like I said, have that particular conversation about the pricing. Then he's like, all right, I'm gonna switch you over to the finance department. And I'm walking on the way to the supervisor. Tell the supervisor I need to tell him. And then he's like, all right, deal with it. Go handle yourself. Let me know what's up when you get back. In my mind, I'm like, damn, I can't even tell this man I might not make it back. But nonetheless, I get the okay. I'm heading back to the other building. Your man comes back on the phone and says, excuse me, Mr. Trek, but could you give like kind of a ballpark figure of what you could possibly afford if when I transfer you over to the finance department? I said, wait, what? my guy, you've told me multiple times you can't ask me for money on our part of the conversation. He said, no, but if I get a ballpark number, I can forward it to the finance department and it'll better be able to help you for when you. I said, no. You said this. You're asking me for a dollar amount right now. What do I get, y'all? Click. That's what I got. When I tell you I was on 100, I was on 100. Again, it's all these other things going on in my mind that he said certain things that just automatically triggered me. And I should have picked up on it in the first 2 minutes versus the more than 15 minutes of the conversation that ends up happening. I was so on 100 that day. I was hell of annoyed. And it's just like this is what it is out here. These scammers, they on their grind. They on their job. Like, the networks is crazy. You apply for anything financial, you hit a radar somewhere because your information is automatically purchased out. And then I had to think it back. I was like, yo, so what did I do that I got on this radar? I know what I did. It had to do with a banking institution. I know what I did. And it was like, damn. So now I got another like X number of weeks and months of where I'm going to get various things officially and like unofficially as the scamming stuff sent to me over the next couple of weeks and months, all because of this one thing that I did that was legitimate. I said, damn. And it's only going to get worse. Like, as far as the scamming in general, and granted, this wasn't a crypto thing, but it is a story in regards to things going on in my life, right? And I'm just saying, be on your P's and Q's out there, y'all. Be on your P's and your Q's. Like, if you got credit cards, lock them down if you're not using them. You got your bank card thing, lock it down if you're not using it. If you're over there doing that whole Apple Pay or Google Pay and all that other stuff, yo, turn off your Bluetooth, turn off your NFC. If you are not actively paying for something, turn off that function on your phone. Because it's crazy to me now how many people I see using tap and go. Like, I'm talking about in the hood seeing tap and go at the bodega, at the hood gas station, and like not to mention when you go to the fancy places. And they got stuff now where like you can get sent a text message. Once you open the text message, your phone's ran through. If you got crypto wallets, it's ran through real quick. Stuff is gone. Just saying, be on your P's and Q's. Watch how these phone calls that you get in, watch these emails that you get in, watch these text messages that you get in, because not gonna lie, like, the scammers are getting really creative and they're sounding very, very realistic. Again, I know in retrospect, I should have been quicker on the take of like, oh, this is bullshit. But because of the other things that were going on in the background, like it just sent triggers on me. It just sent triggers and I was on 100. All right, but nonetheless, let's get into some of this crypto stuff and we'll go from there, right? Oh, why did they just do that? Okay, I know what happened. All right, so let us do go. No. All right, this is not the exact story I wanted. Oh, well, I did want to touch on this one. Yeah. Oh, so let me do a shorter recap of why the roller coaster thing happened, the mental emotional roller coaster. So, like I said, following day, I'm supposed to end up spending time with my daughter. So this happens on Thursday. I go up north on Friday, or really Thursday night, Friday. things happen that I don't get to spend time with my daughter. I can't stay because I already have a plane ticket that was purchased prior, and I'm leaving from Maryland. So it's literally the Friday doesn't play out how I or my daughter wanted it to. I have to go back to Florida. I mean, to Maryland that evening. I get back to Maryland, then have to get up dumb early to get on a plane to go to Florida. Go to Florida, spend maybe 20 hours there. Thank you, boss. Um, do what I got to do to help my mom pack her stuff together, get everything, what it needs to be. And then I hit the road for 14 hours, well, 12-ish, a little over 12-ish hours to drive back north. Stop by, hang out with my cousin, see my goddaughter for a minute. And then here we are today. And I still have to trek to north later on this week. Like, when I tell you it's been a roller coaster, it's been a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster, but sometimes that's just life, right? Like, you don't expect things to happen. And when I tell you that was just one of those left field Tuesday things, but those things lessons, and the quicker you are at learning the lesson, like the better you'll be going forward. And that was one of those things. So again, I'm gonna reiterate, like, be on your P's and Q's. These folks are only gonna get more creative. And there's a couple of stories that I'm like gonna cover in the post and the bookmarks that I think will only add into the craziness of the potentials of how people may get scammed going forward. So one thing to jump on real quick, like I said, here is South Korea suspends test of planned CBDC as Bitcoin and crypto regulations advance. I'm curious on, like, what's the backstory on that. And for those who've been, down with this for a minute, I had said it a while ago about, like, how you're gonna see the proliferation of stable coins. I'm sorry, not stable coins, CBDCs, as per, like, that nation state or that block of uh what's the word I'm looking for, that group, or that nation states or regions or countries that, like, come together on the bilateral trade stuff, and they might work their own thing out as far as a CBDC. But, like, it's gonna go up, and then it's gonna go through a culling, just like how the crypto space, like, I don't think we have as many crypto coins tokens now as we did, like, in 2017, 18. Large in part, like, don't get me wrong, we still have the shit coins, the meme coins and stuff, but, like, and yes, it is easier to set up a token or a coin now compared to how much, like, technical you had to be back in, like, 2017 and 18 and stuff. But your issue now turns into, how do you get on that centralized exchange, right? Excuse me. Because even if you can get on a DEX, the issue is, how do you generate the volume? Because now you have more of the potential masses are being funneled through the sexes, the centralized exchanges. And now we got TradFi is, like, right around the corner. and they're gonna end up being the next thing to cull how many centralized exchanges we have, either through buyouts, through mergers, or through businesses are just going to get closed down exchange wise. That's at least my take on it. That's my take on how I see this space moving forward. But in relation to the CBDC thing, like, the nation states are going to do their stuff, and I I didn't dig into like the behind why this played out the way it played out. As far as they were, if anybody who doesn't know about like the dynamics of South Korea and its relationship to the United States government, there's a lot of like little brother finger waving stuff that happens. Hey, we need you to do this with your economy. It's the same thing with Japan. Hey, we need you to do this in relation to like the currency and finance stuff. And I imagine this was probably playing out the same way on the crypto side for them to do a hard right this way. But again, I didn't dig into it to see like what was what with it. I literally just happened to be scrolling when I was about to hit the live button and seeing this. I'm curious on what this conversation would be. I already told Phil about your boy Pomp. Yeah, he said some interesting things, but he also at times makes me feel like he was just grifting on us. What's going on, my guy? It's been a minute, yo. It's been a minute. Oh, all right. I got another thing that I'm jump on with. Hey man, I hope you're doing good, bro, man. Like Sam watching the roller coaster. Yeah, sorry. I wrote down notes on like the things that I need to cover while I'm going through this tonight. Hope all is going good with you and the fam, Dr. Montgomery. It's been a minute, man. So yeah, I seen this. I'm curious on, is this going to be on his YouTube joint? For always giving a third eye. Listen, again, I'm in this unk status, so it's more so like you seen the stuff, and then you seen, you know what I'm saying? Start. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm gonna throw off something about the. All right, bet about the Binance comment. So, like I said the other day, CZ said something about like the whole like centralized, like the exchanges need to start offering like wills on like what to do with folks crypto assets if they pass and stuff, which is like, why wasn't that already a thing as a feature of the platform, right? I really think CZ has some things that are gonna come down the pike. I might actually try to listen in on this conversation, see where he goes with it. But again, I don't got the million followers on YouTube like Pomp does, but hey, I can't hate in regards to that part of it. It is what it is, right? So, I use Caitlin Long's post a number of times because, like, for when I catch her post, she be saying stuff that it's like, oh wow, like I remember when I heard the conversation about this, or like, oh wow, I didn't know that was happening, or it makes me think of something else, right? And so in this situation, wait, was it this one? Yeah. So basically, I had bookmarked a couple of these where she's talking about stable coins, and basically I forgot what the hey, I appreciate you, Big Boston. She talks about what was it that she said? It was in the other one I bookmarked, but where is it at? No, actually, let me do this one and then I'll get to that one. The point being is that stablecoins are being pushed into TradFi, but they're talking about looking at the smaller mid-sized banks first, which would arguably also include it's not community banks. What's the joint that's it's not community banks. Credit unions. Um this will somehow play into credit unions. So here's the thing to catch in regards to the stablecoin thing. So as to where, again, it is easier with today's technology to create a stablecoin, a digital stablecoin, right? Which Yes, credit unions, which is what arguably it's not, what was it? It was Terra Luna. It was Terra Luna that was the quote digital stablecoin that like had the baskets of cryptos, in particular ETH and BTC that was behind it. And that went how it went, right? So now the big dogs are Tether and USDC, which is through Circle, which is still connected to damn, I forgot the TradFi institution that is behind Circle. But nonetheless, the point being is that there are other stable coins out there, but none of them have the market penetration and the user base and the money velocity of Circle, which is more local to the US. But Tether's out there running across borders left and right. Tether in Hong Kong, Tether in Latin America, Tether in Eastern Europe, Tether in Africa. Like, it's not a game out there right now. So in relation to this situation with the banks, and I'm also curious to see what King would say about this when I think about it right now. Like, I'm curious to see how, yeah, um, you funny, bro. I'm curious to see how this is gonna work in terms of like, because think about this, right? The stable coins, the main stake players are but all right, so the on-chain, I would argue that that is a very loose phrasing in terms of Tether to say it's all on-chain, right? Because at the end of the day, there's no cap on Tether. There's no, oh, well, we can only have 21 million. Like, no, just as there's no cap on Ethereum. But Ethereum has more on-chain proof validation to it than compared to a Tether on the technical back end, to me. Somebody else might argue different and saying, well, no, I can see it because I know that the node that's watching it does blah, blah, blah. Understandable, but it is way easier to click a button or to mess with Tether on the back end than it is to mess with Ethereum on the back end or Bitcoin on the back end. Hell, you could even throw in Solana, but at the end of the day, Solana, they'll just turn off the whole operation and then rewrite stuff and make adjustments. Like, so to be like, it's on chain of what it means today is not the same thing it meant back in the day. God damn, I hate saying that right now. Like, the best Circle had to team up with Coinbase to have the real penetration. Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Circle is arguably local. Tether, like when we had that whole situation with the Biden administration, Tether was like, all right, bet we just gonna go handle business outside the US. And they did their official dealings with the financing departments and agencies of various countries. And then they also just had it where the user base was like, oh, this is an explicit Tether telling people like, oh, you should go to Argentina. Like, no, like, this is just the user, the use case was working in multiple areas where if you down in Argentina, if you in Venezuela, if you in Colombia, you're trying to get things done, but you're not trying to touch a digital fiat. All right, you can't just like shave off some of your gold. You see what I'm like? The between the hackers, between like the money arbitrage people, the folks who was knowing how to, like, I got my wallet on this. Okay, you need to do that. You want to buy this? Okay, got you. We can get the ticket for that. You know what? I know you got Bitcoin, but I rather the Tether. That's going on everywhere. So from the black market to the gray market to the white market, Tether's running across all of those. How crazy is that? Who would have saw this 5 years back? Like, who would have really saw Tether crossing those type of markets? Because remember, when Tether first started out, it was straight up on them. We for the banks, we for the financials, we are for TradFi. Tether was not talking about being in gray markets and black markets. That was nowhere in their narrative. 100% KYC, 100% transportation, KYC, know your customer stuff. And yet, here's where we are in 2025. It's crazy to me, but it is what it is. And like, I can't be mad at it, because in terms of just like, in terms of the free market concept, the market said, hey, we like this product. It does what we need it to do in terms of being a financial instrument. It serves our purpose. And for the different nuances that you have from a Hong Kong to a Nigeria to a Argentina to Kazakhstan, it meets needs in each one of those areas. How crazy is that? Yeah, bro, like that's what I'm saying. What is it? Better market for Tether. I think that's about who. Oh, you okay? Got you. Yeah, on the global thing, but nonetheless, as far as here in the home state, well, home country, I'm curious to see how this is actually going to roll out, and I honestly think, yo, yes. Oh no, wait. I'm curious to see how this will roll out, because I honestly think that there's going to be a number of things that happen during this administration that arguably only the people within like the crypto space, or like within the financial markets or realm. I remember also I said, I'm saying this again, the phrase crypto space is not going to mean what we call it, what is not what we take it as in probably like another 5 years, 10 years max. Crypto space is not going to mean the same thing, if it's going to mean shit at all, in another 5-10 years. But yeah, like I'm curious to see how they will actually implement this on the end of because part of the issue is going to be this: you can't have, or at least the way that the traditional financial world argues it, we cannot let people have capital and not know the provenance of that capital, right? So did you work for it? Were you gifted it? How did you get this? Where did it come from? Who is the person or persons that you're connected to that generated this, that ended up with you? And now you want to try to use it as a regular person in this financial realm. Like, that's not where the traditional side wants it, which then gets into, hold on, let's all right, I'm gonna have to, is this the one? Actually, yeah, I'm gonna jump to this one too, and then I'm gonna like bring it together. So what is it? Alex Grieve, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but Alex Grieve today Senate votes on the big beautiful. Cynthia Loomis has an amendment that would unlock a huge growth of U.S. crypto, de minimis, staking, mining, tax timing, mark on market, etc. So the short of it is, one of the things she talks about is, hey, don't tax gains on Bitcoin that is under $600. Like, considering the fluctuation of the Bitcoin price in particular, how fast do you think you would equal? Because remember, BTC is priced in USD. So let's say you did 5 transactions over a year, and let's just say the price moved up multiple times in the year, but each one of those transactions you did were like, let's say $90, 2-3 of them might have been over $100. How fast do you think you would end up being at $600, the evaluation price of $600? I would argue that sounds kind of, I don't know how she came up with the number 600, but it's just like, well, why don't we just do what we did with regular fiat? We said if it was what, 10,000 or 5,000, like that's when we got to start asking questions. Why is the number 600? You remember when Joe Biden did this in relation to the money apps? Oh, well, if you start moving money around, that's like at what was the number? Was it 1,000 or was it like 600? Because this almost sounds like that, right? And so if this is what's going on right now, then arguably, wait, what? I hope I'm, but I strongly recommend recommendations just shy of direct order. I don't know what that means exactly. Only Bitcoin. Okay. Because equal actions for people. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments like while I'm trying to say this thought. But my point being is, I don't know how she's running with the number 600. I still stand on what I say about her. I don't think she's actually a friend of crypto. I don't think that for what the I don't think that for what she's suggesting, it sounds good on face value, but it literally just like slow creeps us back to traditional finance stuff. It in my opinion, in my little humble, some random guy on the internet who's not a CPA, who's not a tax guy, who's not a lawyer, who's not a financial advisor, what she's suggesting slowly walks us back into TradFi, because even TradFi is making its changes. And I'm still also on the same thing of, for all this talk we have about the administration is really different. This administration is different than the last administration. They're more crypto friendly. They're more pro blah blah blah. I need to see the IRS situation change for me to believe all of that. Like, until something actually comes out of the IRS where it's like, all right, here's how we're moving going forward. There's no question on how this is going to work going forward, or better yet, like, there's no, hey, we're gonna say this now, but like next administration we're gonna change, or like, oh, we're gonna go with this for a little bit, but it's only gonna be like an exemption window of like 2 or 3 years, and then hey, we're back to square one. Like, no. Like, obviously we're not going to get to have the level of anonymousness or pseudo-anonymousness that we were talking about with Bitcoin going forward. Obviously, the government, especially considering what is going on in this economy locally and globally, is not going to let people be able to just hold capital in their pocket and not get a cut of it. That's just not gonna happen. And if anything, if you notice what's going on, like we're and what's his Bassett, the treasury dude, he, oh my god, they literally put all of the granted the tariffs aren't where they said it was going to be, but the way that he's arguing, or at least the administration in general is arguing, like, oh, well, there's no inflation and inflation isn't really crazy or anything right now. It's like, but you know that in order for you to actually get a better and accurate picture of how these policies work, you need at least 3 months, minimum 3 months to pass. We are only, we're just making 6 months of the administration, just making 6 months. And you only started pushing this stuff in the last like 2 or so months, but like full minimum 3 months to be like, okay, here's what we see going on with our trade stuff. Here's what we see going on with the pricing. And they're like, oh no, there's no inflation. There's nothing happening. Look, the tariffs didn't hurt the American people. I'm calling bullshit. And I'm only calling bullshit because of what I see in my pricing of things. And then like the smarter economist people that I pay attention to. Yeah, it's crazy out here. Ability to manipulate the money picture. Yes, of course. That's so for what you're saying, only Bitcoin, that is the Cantillon effect. There's a whole paper thing about that. What's the dude name? Uneducated economist. He talks about the Cantillon effect all the time. And it really, for what we see happening now, and especially with this big, beautiful bill thing, and how it's supposed to basically be a tax cut for all the rich folks and then screw over the regular average Joe American. And that's not my interpretation. That's me paying attention to other smarter economist people saying like, hey, this isn't going to lower the American debt. This is going to increase it. And they're doing like smoke and mirrors with how they're saying on one side we're cutting money or we're cutting waste and access, but on the other side they're spending like crazy. And then the things that they're telling people are going to bring in money is not going to bring in anywhere near what's needed to pay this debt off. But yet they still want to give like tax reduction and incentives to people who are already wealthy and rich. It's wild, but this is where we are. This is the country we live in. And yeah, that's that. All right, let me get off of that ramble and get back into this crypto stuff. So hold on. Yeah. As far as this thing with the no capital gains, like I said, it doesn't make sense in practicality to me because I do not see us being out of the woods for having like volatile, not as in the short term, like how we had sometimes in the stop playing with me, bro. Stop playing with me. But it like, so example, like I mean, back in the day, man, like you can have Bitcoin go down a couple $100 in 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Versus it jumping like 30K in like a week. Like we're not gonna, I don't see us having like those crazy swings. And this is not me saying it as financial advice. This is just me being on the around for a minute. Like back in the day, we had X amount of craziness within the price movement that can range from a 12-hour to a 48-hour to a week into a month. And like the cycles were shorter, but look at how long it's been taking stuff to move now. And it's only gonna widen as we go further into this whole thing about mass adoption, right? Because the talk of this week was the whole thing about what's their name? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac being, I don't know if directed is the right word, but bringing up the whole thing of like, hey, you guys need to start looking into or working on Bitcoin being used as collateral for loans and financing deals, right? In regards to real estate. The devil is in the details. The devil is in the details. Here's why. Because the only way that deal is supposed, like, assuming this adoption within real estate happens in the this administration, the devil in the detail is they want you to only use trusted something American exchanges or American what is it, American, I think it was American exchanges. So case in point, now again, like the narrative is about to take a crazy switch of what crypto was about back in the day versus how it's moving now. And one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of Loomis is because she's one of the people, in my opinion, who pushes nationalism into the crypto space. And with that, this isn't about it being a financial instrument that is accessible to all. This is about the way that it seems like they're going to push this. And this isn't even saying what the end result legislation is going to be, right? But here it is. It has to be through a centralized exchange, US-based company. How many centralized exchanges are there in the US? What? A handful of under 10? Which again brings it to my thought process is, if not within the latter part of this administration, at least by the next administration, you're going to see mergers and buyouts with traditional TradFi. Like it only makes sense if you're saying that we're going to start bringing the crypto stuff into traditional, like the traditional space as far as assets is concerned. Like, so what does this mean for like private wallets? What does it mean for cold storage? Like, how does that work? How is that going to work going forward? You have your own cold storage wallet, and then and also think about this again. If you've been around for a minute, you got that uncle and auntie status. You know, back in what, 2014, 2015, 2013, more 2014 forward, people were using crypto, aka Bitcoin and Ethereum, here and there with the Litecoin stuff, to purchase real world assets, cars, homes, jewelry. Depending on who you were doing this private sale, aside from the car thing, because I think, who was it? Ferrari and a couple other people, or other luxury brands were the first to do it, but they were doing it on the end of they cashing out on the back end to get the dollar equivalent because of the slippage that was going on back in the day. Again, you could have, one Bitcoin be worth 50,000 a day, and then by the time you get off the lot with the vehicle, the Bitcoin done went down to like 30K. Like, it was crazy like that back in the day. So this goes to my point about, I don't know what America, and when I say America, I'm talking about within the TradFi financial space. Like, I don't know what these folks are thinking on how they will be able to stabilize the price fluctuation of Bitcoin, because the way that this is being argued out is you don't have to cash out the USD value. You can just keep it as the Bitcoin. But again, it has to be through a centralized exchange. You can't have this in your private wallet and go into the bank and be like, well, I only make like, 40K, but I have, 100 and something K worth of crypto. Like, you funny, bro. You hilarious. You's hilarious right now, sir. Wait, what did I say? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna jump. I might touch that. I might touch that subject. You heard about your new lieutenant colonels, like, bruh. How Mark Zuckerberg is a lieutenant colonel? Make that make sense to me. That Mark Zuckerberg is a lieutenant colonel. He's not a lieutenant. He's not a captain. He's not a major. Your man gets to jump straight up top. What? Anywho, that shit right there is irking my soul, man. That one is irking my soul. But anywho, so like, how is this gonna work going forward? And again, like back in the day, like the whole pizza thing. If I remember right, I don't think the pizza place. I don't think they cashed out the Bitcoin immediately. I think they did it after the fact. Because I remember there was some stories that were talking about like, well, what would happen if they kept the Bitcoin? They didn't keep the Bitcoin, but you've had people from back in the day buy and sell real world assets and keep the crypto. It's like, oh, all right, well, you know what? I got this car or I got this house thing, but those were more along the lines of private sales. And then granted, not everyone kept the crypto asset, but some people did. Now we're bringing it to the financial realm, the financial world, and it's going to be hey, well, you can keep it in the crypto asset. You don't have to convert to the USD, which then also gets into how does the business deal? What? Bruh, like Zuckerberg, the dude from PayPal, Palantir, that dude, and I forgot the fourth person, but it's four of them. They're all lieutenant colonels now. How long does it take to be a lieutenant colonel, bro? Like, if you follow the traditional track, it takes like more than 20 years. Yeah. That, and ironically enough, they set up a whole new, I think it was a battalion or a brigade for them in the reserves. So like they're directly under the federal eye, but they couldn't put them in to like active. I don't know like how I imagine there was some level of pushback. I know I'm going off on a tangent. I imagine there was some level of pushback from the Pentagon folks being like, hold on, my man. You want to set up a whole new division or sorry, brigade that deals with like technology and AI and futuristic stuff in the active army, and you're just gonna put these four people who ain't do none of the training, have none of the basic soldiering education or experience, and you're gonna make them lieutenant colonels? I'm also curious on like how did NGB, the National Guard Bureau, see this? Like, did they just go, listen, we're just gonna push this to Compo 3, or like did they try to push it at Compo 1 and then active folks was like, nah, bro, sorry, Colonel General, nah, we're not gonna co-sign that. Because arguably it would make more sense of like, all right, we want to give them a more federal line so they would be reserve versus being guard, because then you got to figure out what state would accept that. So it kind of makes sense to push it in the reserve, but like when I seen the story, bro, I was flabbergasted. Like Sorry, I'm off on the tangent. Whatever. Let's get back on this crypto talk. All right. What was the other one? It was the tax thing. Again, it doesn't make sense to me until I actually see something out of the IRS. This is funny. No, this was funny too. Hey, Cold Dior, how you doing? Yeah, it's wild out here, man. Like, I got a whole set of thoughts on how things are going with our service, but I'm not here to. That's not what the channel's about. Yo, you know what? I'm a run that idea a little bit more around in my head before I actually say this. Fast track. Yeah, at least minimum 15. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. But like I said, bro, and you know what? Let me stop trying to run down that rabbit hole because that's just a whole deep ass rabbit hole onto itself. But as far as this Bitcoin tax thing, and then did you also know that various states have capital gain taxes? I did not know that until the other day. I was listening to something and they were talking about, or I was either listening or I was reading something, and they were talking about capital gains taxes for the state. No, a matter of fact, it was something on here. I don't think I had covered it. That's what happened. I don't think I covered it, but it was about capital gains tax for the states. So each state has this varying thing about capital gains tax, which means even though the federal government might say one thing about how it looks at capital gain tax for crypto, it doesn't mean that it will be in sync with what the individual state says. Yo, I don't mean to be facetious. It's cute, Chloe. It's cute. I'm done. Wait, what are we saying that to? What are we saying that to, Chloe? What are we saying that to? Because in my mind, I thought you were saying about the new lieutenant colonels being y'all are cracking me up tonight. Dead ass, y'all are cracking me up tonight. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. But onto this thing, like I said, how is this going to work in practicality? I'm not 100% certain if I see it, because again, like, and like, also think about this part. If you put crypto in as a collateral, right? To be like, hey, I want to apply for this loan. Well, what do you have? Oh, well, I make this much amount of my job and I have this much crypto sitting in these wallets. What happens to like precious metals? Like, if I go to a bank and say, hey, I got like high 5 figures worth of gold and silver, does that help? Because as far as I know, no. So it's like, if you're gonna do this thing with the crypto, then shouldn't you also then do it with the precious metals? And again, you can still do this stuff in private sales. If I go directly to the person and be like, yo, I got, this amount of a Bitcoin or a Solana, if they want that, let me get that, that pistol. Let me get that car. Like, I know somebody who did that with a car. Like, I forgot who it was that was talking to me about that. But the point being, yo, I'm sorry, Mark Zuckerberg as crypto colonel. It's fun. You know that meme that is with Sheldon sitting on the couch and it's like, it's sad, but it's funny at the same time. That's what this has me thinking and feeling right now. It's sad but funny at the same time. But yeah, so I don't know how this part is going to work out. I don't agree with the 600 number because I don't think we're out of the way of price fluctuations. And in 1 year, like it could literally take you 3 to maybe 8 transactions to all of a sudden be above $600. And you know, like, how's that gonna work? What was the other thing? Oh, I thought this was interesting. U.S. Supreme Court on Monday declined to hear Harper versus Kinder. I don't know. I know I'm probably messing up that name. As the case that could have reconsidered whether crypto exchanges must share user data with the government. This decision is a setback for Coinbase and others seeking privacy protections for blockchain data. What does the rest of it say? Oh, it's a Decrypt article. That's a big thing right there. Getting people to show their BTC bank and yeah, like but again, this is if you want to go through the traditional finance way versus doing direct person-to-person private sales, which then potentially means that somewhere down the line, someone's going to have the idea about like, well, no, you can't do private sales this way. Or, well, no, you can't use your own wallets to do blah, blah, blah. If it's not a wallet that's through a centralized exchange. Oh, the confiscation be crazy that way. Again, like I don't know. For me, the horizon is going to be mergers and buyouts, and I don't see Coinbase doing the buyout. Potentially, I see Circle, well, USDC, either getting bought or something. I don't see Tether. I'm not 100% on Kraken, but like I said, there's only a handful of American registered exchanges, centralized exchanges. So we're not even talking about the DeFi, quote, DeFi exchanges. Like it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild, right? And I don't know. We'll I guess we'll see how it plays out. Like I said, in my mind, I think it's like the next 2 administrations that this and the next administration that will see this stuff get a little bit more ironed out. But like the way that it will play out, I don't think it's going to be what like I don't think it will be the ideal situations that like the average person within the space would be like, all right, that's cool, that's understandable. Or, oh, that makes sense. I think you have your like the things that could be done that would make sense to a Michael Saylor, Cynthia Loomis, Caitlin Long, your boy Pomp. Like those folks are in a different tax bracket and they're in a different level or area of operation. So in my mind, the things that they'd be like, oh, well, yeah, this is a good thing in terms of like how the legislation should work out with the SEC and like what the IRS should do and, you know, what we should do with the DOE in terms of like mom and pop mining and those things. They're going to be arguing things in my mind from a different perspective because they're in a different class. Yeah, that bullshit. Like, and yeah, that too. That's gonna happen. That yeah. Um oh, all right. So this actually goes to something that I think is gonna happen down the road. But yeah, this case, that's kind of messed up that didn't play out in a more positive way. Let's say to the whole thing about digital privacy, financial privacy, and like how the industry and this market is being moved away from any type of privacy, which is crazy because that was where we started. How crazy is that? But anywho, who was the other one? Yes, no, it's not that one. Okay. No, that was for another thing. What was the other thing? No. What was this one? I think I've seen this earlier in the week. Housing. Yeah, so HR 1664, Deploying American Blockchains Act of 2025. Like I said, this whole thing, I would argue, started Trump's first run about like this pushing of the nationalism stuff into it. It's gonna mess us up. It's gonna, let me not say us. It's going to mess the space up once we really start, because in my mind, that's literally just us turning back around and doing what we did with the fiat currency as far as weaponizing the USD. So, like, we see how that worked in traditional TradFi, where we weaponize the USD, we weaponize Swift, and look where that got us. And then now we're about to do the same thing on the crypto stuff. And you are literally going to have people beating you over the head, telling you, well, this is a good thing for us. This is a good thing for America. What do you mean you don't want to protect the American dollar? What do you mean you don't want to protect the American economy? Bruh, like, I want us to do business. I want to be able to get things at a fair and reasonable price. I don't want to be taken financial advantage of for how our economy and our financialization of our economy works. Like, that's the issue. But you know what? I'm just some guy on the internet. You know, like, I'm just some guy on the internet. You agree with me? Cool. If you don't, hey, it's all right. Comments is open. You could always drop a line. Again, something to pay attention to here in regards to this HR 1664. You'll see, where it gets pushed to. What was the other one? Belief, just now. Yeah, so this was the initial thing that I was talking about with the federal housing thing with Freddie Mac and the other one. Oh, you know what? I'll just jump on this real quick. I'll save this for a whole nother reason. But this whole thing that's going on with how Trump is talking sideways about Powell, what is mind blowing to me is that even if he wanted Powell out and he got the next person in, like, Powell doesn't just like make the decision by himself for how the interest rate thing goes up or down. It's literally a group of folks who have to vote. He just happens to be the public spokesperson that has to go out in front of the camera and say stuff. So like, and it just is really weird to me that Trump is making this targeting thing on him when it's not a solely him. It isn't that he just gets up and be like, all right, today I'm gonna, take it up. Click, press the enter button, and now it went up 2 basis points or whatever. Like, that's not how it works. And yet, when you listen to mainstream media, they would have you think that because Trump is bullying or making sideways comments about Powell, it's all on him. When it's like, But that's the other crazy part. No one is actually explaining the process of how it actually works. They're sideways towing the line that it's all on Powell. And it's like, nah, that's not how it works. Bruh, like it and I forgot who I was listening to, and they were breaking it down when they were like, this was a couple months back when he first started talking sideways about Powell, and they were then, oh God, I can't remember the name of the guy, but like I said, like I be telling y'all, like I pay attention to different people, and then it's like cross-referencing what they're saying. And that was one of the things that he had brought up when they first, no, a matter of fact, so that was during Biden's administration. He was talking about that, where it's just like, hey, don't be fooled by what's being said through the administration. It isn't solely on Powell. It's literally a committee of people that have to vote on the issue of raising it up or down. Because remember, they was talking sideways during Biden's administration too about him. But it's like, fire him or not, like whoever you brought in next, there's literally only one vote. Like it doesn't matter if you brought in a lackey. You still got to worry about the other people who also vote. But anywho, that's off on that tangent. All right, so last joint is far as it's not one of the things that I ended up bookmarking, but I'm gonna bring this into so as I'm taking a flight down to Florida, I run across one of my homeboys from out this way. He's also back in the day, status person in the crypto space. We was making a joke. It's like, yo, how are we not millionaires yet? And da 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 da. And it's like, yeah, man, like we're in early still, but like we've been through enough of the up and down stuff with this space, right? And so we were talking, and I was telling him about Celsius and the whole thing that happened during the Miami Bitcoin conference. And I was saying to him how I'm gonna say this out to y'all. Agree with me or disagree with me. Pardon. But I think this is a thing. It's not yet. It's not a thing yet. But I think this will be a thing. So we were talking about a couple of different things that's like, developing in the space now, as far as like what Coinbase is doing and like their push towards, their stuff. How, they've gone public now and they're in the S&P 500 and all that stuff. And then we got into talking about lending platforms. That's what it was. And I was saying to him, like, yeah, I was doing Celsius in the early part. And he was like, yeah, it didn't make sense to me with the coin and how that was working. I was like, you know what? I didn't mess with the coin because by the time I got to Celsius, you couldn't do the coin thing if you were like the US resident stuff. So whatever on that, right? But if you had whatever crypto you had and it was one of the things they would use within their ecosystem, boom, you was good to go. So I was telling him, like, yeah, so like that's how I was messing with it back then. And then once the stuff was happening at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, and after they had that whole big hoopla of like, yeah, we got this and we want to do that and da 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 da, and then like the next 48 hours, you started hearing little grumbles and whispers. I was like, yeah, I'm done. And then I was telling him, I was like, yeah, man, I got out before all of that craziness happened. And then next thing I know, that like it was just a windfall of like the emails, the information, and the whole thing of him getting arrested. And I think he got like double-digit numbers for what they was putting on him and the charges that they gave him, which were mainly, if I understand right, based on the token. But here's where I'm going with this. And I'll make this connection as far as what I think is going to happen in less than 10 years. In less than 10 years. So, I think that the model that Alex was using to do his lending mechanism, his ecosystem setup, Now, granted, there are other platforms that do a form of lending. But as we saw, remember, what's the platform that Pomp used to be with? And then like when they started getting the hand slap from the SEC, he went dark and then he rebranded and now he wears suits all the time. What was that platform? Does anybody remember the name of that platform? Yeah. So, and he got, like I said, double-digit numbers. So it was because of the token, right? So it was primarily because of the token. But what I honestly think will happen within the next 10 is that the not the mechanism, but more of the system that he used will end up being adopted by a more traditional financial institution. Now, arguably, the traditional financial institutions are your Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Goldman Sachs, Chase, who else? But like your new age stuff. Your new age stuff is Robinhood. Your new age stuff is Webull. Granted, Webull does not have the market adoption that Robinhood has. I can't tell you how many times I've mentioned something about Robinhood, and then I heard somebody talk about, oh yeah, my Robinhood Gold, like, it's really doing good right now. I'm really glad that they did this. I'm like, wait a minute, wait, what? Like, you do remember that they had the Wall Street bet situation, and in the Wall Street bet situation, what's his name? I think his name is Alex too. He went on a whole PR run explaining to people BlockFi. Yes, thank you, Voice Crypto. Pomp was promoting BlockFi like crazy back when he had the podcast and then when he got with his brothers. And then once they started getting their hand clapped, it was, and I feel like it was BlockFi that started getting tapped first, and then Alex got tapped. But BlockFi was able to just like, all right, I don't know exactly how their court case went. What I do have a very, very, very big suspicion of is Pomp had to back out. He was made to sign a gag and a no compete. Because if you listen to the stuff that he talks about now, he doesn't talk nothing on like investment, money lending, stuff like that. And he makes no mention of the BlockFi stuff. Like, you can't even get him to be like, oh yeah, back in the day, I did have a business relationship with. You can't even get him to do that now, right? But nonetheless, in that particular time period of, I think it was them that got tapped first. They were able to bow out gracefully. Like, you didn't hear about nobody being ran through the court system like the way they was talking about Alex, right? So the like I said, the system that I think Alex used, I think will get adopted by someone. My first initial thought is it would end up being Robinhood. And the reason I say this is because what's the comedian dude's name? Jon Stewart. Who was the person who had the Tonight Show? Not the Tonight Show. Is it Jon Stewart? Somebody check me on that one. I feel like I'm either saying his name wrong, but nonetheless, he did this whole breakdown. I forgot who he had on as a guest. This was during C19 when like he jumped into doing the YouTube podcast stuff. He had somebody on and they were talking about financial stuff. And it was around when Robinhood did the Wall Street bet situation. And he did a breakdown of how Robinhood's system and how their ecosystem works for the money in from the PJ traders and then you had the buffer of where the platform was like, all right, the money came in. There's a dark pool thing behind the wall. Citadel, which is like a major back-end investor for Robinhood, sits in there somewhere too. The bottom line is that system, that model, is the same model Bernie Madoff went to jail for and died in jail. For those of you who don't remember that far back, Bernie Madoff was basically stealing from rich people and giving money to other rich people. And apparently he did it to the wrong person, because after a number of years, somebody finally told, because they was too fucking pissed. And so he went to jail for fraud and embezzlement and some other stuff, and he died in jail. Nonetheless, years later, we see that Robinhood uses the same model. I think that the same thing is going to happen with Celsius. Yes, old Bernie. I think the same thing is going to happen with Celsius. The model that Celsius had is going to get picked up by who, I don't know exactly, but I'm kind of betting on Robinhood, because also look at it. Robinhood was like the first one to do micro stocks. I think Robinhood got that before Webull. If you look at Charles Schwab version of a micro stock is, well, no, that's a lie, because they have, well, the ETFs are kind of a different animal than compared to like a traditional stock. Which again goes to my point about how like the model and the mechanism that Robinhood uses. Because think about this, and let's say what, 3-4 years back, you couldn't go to Fidelity or to JP Morgan or on Goldman Sachs's platform and try to buy $1 worth of like a $5 stock. Like, granted, we had penny stocks and stuff back in the day, but Cash App is a different. Yes, but I think Robinhood jumped on it before as stocks. Cash App lets you do Bitcoin in 50 cents and like $1 and stuff like that. Like, Cash App had that early. And then they threw in the whole like roundup thing, which used to be, God, what is the name of that platform that did the whole like rounding up your spare change when you did cash purchases, and they would buy you the Bitcoin. I can't remember the name, and this is like 2017, 2018, or like 2016 or 2017. I cannot remember the company that was doing that, but X amount of these features are not new. Like, they're and it's also crazy to me to see how much of the things that are inherent within the crypto. Acorn, yes, that was dumb. I used to mess with them too. Acorns, plural. Acorn. Yeah. Thank you, Big Bossin and Prospector. But like, these things aren't new, and it's just crazy to watch how much of the things that we were doing back in the day in the crypto, like in the crypto space, in the truest sense of in the crypto space, has slowly but surely been adopted into TradFi. And with that, it's being limited. It's being what's the word that I'm looking for? It's being it's not codified, but like, as opposed to where we were able to have more self agency in how we did things, we're getting the streamlined version of it. Like, it's being Apple-fied, arguably. I'm making that term up, but Apple-fi or Appleification is like the best thing that I can come up with to say, like, it's like you have Huawei and Android, as an ecosystem for your phone, and then you have Apple, which is just like, well, no, we're just going to give you the simplest streamlined thing. Mind you, what we had back in the day was Android. What we're being moved towards is Apple. But there's also this other thing over on the other side developing out called Huawei. And I'm curious to see how that's going to play out over the next 10 years. But that's a whole nother discussion, y'all. That's a whole nother discussion. No, it's not being gamified. No, gamify is a different, in terms of this, for what is being offered as a product to the public. It's not gamification. They're simplifying it. They're streamlining it. They're making it more clean, more limited in function and features. Again, like if you was around in 2014 and 2013, and like you see, like I remember there used to be a site that used to list like all of the different types of stores and like the different types of stores online or storefronts that would accept Bitcoin or accept like Ethereum or accept Litecoin. And I don't remember what that site is called right now. But you know who also has an interesting one? Jameson Lopp, Lopp. He has his site, and he actually updates his stuff on a regular enough basis. It literally takes you like months to go through all of the links on his site that relate to like the education around Bitcoin security, around Bitcoin coding, around like the developments over the years, over like the wallets, and like even if you're just looking at like trying to find places and ways to spend crypto or your Bitcoin in particular, like 101 links. Oh yeah, 20. Okay, I'm not trying to talk sideways, or I'm not trying to talk down to you on Big Boston. It just, all right. So this is why I feel like I'm in the unk/elder status, because I'm in the 2011, 2012 like class. So it was a different vibe and different thought process. It was a different um ideal, and the marketing and the narrative and the messaging was different back then to what's going on now. Like that's the whole, you know what I'm saying, thing to it. So like when I and that's why I be going through these tangents about like, oh yeah, you remember, and I be throwing out these years. It if you weren't around during that period, some of the stuff that I'm saying is just like, get the fuck out of here. Y'all was doing what? Like, I remember I was doing plane tickets back in like 2014 with Bitcoin. I done lost how much Bitcoin I don't even know right now, because I've had multiple wallets over the years. Like, do I not kick myself in the butt for not being more aware and conscious of like tracking that stuff? Hell yeah. You live and you learn. You live and you learn. Like that's the best answer I got right now. You live and you learn, man. And yeah, like I was spending stuff. I was like, hodling was a thing, but I feel like hodling didn't really like become a thing until like maybe 2014, 15, when like more of the trader stuff came in. Like yeah, like back then, like I said, like it was just more like, all right, well, this company takes it, then you had like local Bitcoin, and you could do, you're like, oh, let me get $5 worth. Like there was I've met some of the folks from back in the day who was selling like Bitcoin, just like, hey, we'll meet you here. And like there's a dude in DC, like some of the early folks, they have some of the craziest stories in law enforcement experiences on how in the early day, like the government was being mad disrespectful and just ruining people's lives. Like when I tell you ruining, like ruining, making sure, like someone was making sure they made a career on ruining your life. Like the government had no filter back in the day. It was like, oh, you doing this thing that's like somehow sounds like it's money and it's like within the, oh, no, dog. We got to take your whole life apart. We got to put you on special list now. Like, I know some folks that I've come across over the years, and it's crazy to hear some of the stories and how the things that they experienced back in the day when the government was just like, yeah, we could just turn your whole life upside down and there is nothing you could do about it. And it was wild. And then I only imagine for those folks from back then to look at it now and be like, what you mean Coinbase is on the S&P 500? What you mean you want to do a Bitcoin reserve? Like, I can only imagine how some of those folks look at what's going on right now. Crazy. Like, I know the dude who was the like the tax guy for Charles Schwab before he ended up getting arrested and put in I want to say jail, or was it prison? I think he went to prison. But like he got crazy stories too. Like, oh yeah, like I said, Unk status been around for a minute. You know, I don't know everything. I don't know everybody. I didn't do yeah, link up on Craigslist. Oh, there's a number. Oh, yo, one of these days I gotta bring my guy 3D on and have 3D talk about how crypto was moving, like Bitcoin and stuff was moving through like some of the gaming realms, like on Diablo. Well, Diablo was the gold thing, but like, yo, 3D. And for anybody who been following for a minute, like, you know, 3D, me and him did the whole thing about like virtual reality and the meta space and all that. Like, techie wise, 3D is hands down one of the most techiest mofos I know. And he has some of the craziest, like, back in the day stories about crypto. And just like in general tech shit. Like in general tech, like internet message boards, like 3D has some of the most wowest, like, holy shit, like really? Like you was a part of that, or like you know about that thing, or like, oh man, like you really been playing with tech for a while, like a while. Like he would tell me stories at times. I'd be like, God damn, bro, like I feel dumb compared to some of the stuff you talking about. But yeah, man, shout out to my guy 3D, man. It's been a minute. I gotta definitely, I gotta bring him on one day so y'all could like just hear, because yeah, he has some really interesting stories, and like he's been on ground, on forefront with this tech stuff, metaverse, NFT stuff, smart contracts. Like we even did a whole smart contract that like did the self-generation of a coin, like on Wax. Who remembers Wax? Like Wax is a good blockchain as far as like smart contract development and like the level of granule um um control that you can have on it. But yeah, like I said, like been playing in this stuff for a while, and yeah, I was on Crypto Blood's thing too. I was on his channel too doing stuff. That was um it wasn't my 2 cents. Yeah, Wax. Yeah, Wax is a if Wax is one of the OG ones. They don't market like everybody else either. It's just like they tech wise, I feel like they're one of the strongest tech stacks as far as a blockchain technology goes, and then like being able to implement the smart contract stuff with the NFT stuff and all that on there. Um, yes, a number of games was on there. Yo, fucking oh, shout outs to my guy Ken Bosak, because Ken became a millionaire off of wax. Like one of the smartest guerrilla style marketing people I know. And that dude had like a real simple South Philly beginning, um and did his thing, man. Did his thing. He's another one that has crazy crypto stories. The man has traveled the world off of this crypto, and he has some crazy stories for the people that he's met through crypto. But yeah, all right, yo, I am running way long tonight. I really got to start figuring out what to do. Oh, engine. Wow, I don't remember. I haven't heard that one in a minute. Interesting. Interesting in the Asia market. Um, but yeah, running way long tonight. And those are the things that I got. Like I said, I almost got scammed. Shit has been an emotional, like life roller coaster. You saw the bookmarks for what they are, as far as the Cynthia Luminous thing with this new like potential tax amendment that she wants to put into the big beautiful bill. Again, from everything that I'm listening to, it is not going to be advantageous to the average Joe Jane US citizen. We're going to get screwed money wise because the debt is not going to go down, which means our taxes as the regular average Joe person will not go down. And yeah, I think that the Celsius model will end up getting picked up by one of these traditional TradFi companies, whether it be through the acquisition of a crypto exchange, whether it be a DeFi or a centralized exchange, but somebody's going to end up picking it up within less than 10 years, and they're going to turn around and sell it to the public like it's the newest, greatest thing since sliced bread. And the folks who aren't going to remember Celsius are gonna be like, oh wow, this is great. Like, oh, are you in on this? Oh, I'm doing this through my retirement thing. But yo, that's gonna be another crazy thing about the bubble that's gonna be hyped up to be sold to pension funds. But that's like a whole nother animal and rabbit hole to dig in on. But I don't got time for that right now, y'all. This is like nearly 2 hours. Nonetheless, it's Monday. I hope y'all had a productive day. I hope your weekend was not stressful. I hope that you got to have enjoyable time either within yourself and your own solitude, or like at least with family and friends and like good company, positive company. If you're around the toxic folks, like, hey, like try to figure a way to exit. Hopefully somebody around you is putting you on to, like, you might not want to be around that person too much longer. It's crazy just with how I'll be looking at the internet stuff now, like the stuff that I see in my YouTube feed and even like the Twitter stuff. And man, like the YouTube feed is crazy for like the level of negative stuff going on out there with folks. Like I literally just listened to the story earlier with a dude quit his job because his girl was like, yo, I'm making this money on TikTok. Let's move out to Vegas. And he did it. And apparently she was physically and mentally and emotionally abusing the dude. And she took full advantage of your boy. Called the cops on him, beat him up in front of the kid, everything. And then was talking crazy to him because she was, quote, the breadwinner. It's wild out here, man. It's wild. Pardon me. But nonetheless, as I say, from one human to the next, the best thing that I can wish for you is to be in a safe space, in a safe place, and in good company. And hopefully the rest of your week goes to where it's productive over busy. And that's what I got for y'all. Until the next one, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Twitch, I'm on my YouTube channel, which is Trek with 2Ks. But y'all see, I mainly pushed through the Gentleman of Crypto. I'm also doing the thing live on the what's this thing called? The Twitter side. And like I said, I've just been experimenting with this stuff. And we're gonna see how we're gonna go through the rest of this decade with this social media stuff. And they're just gonna keep making my commentaries. And if you agree, cool. If it makes you think, even better. If you disagree with me, that's cool too, bruh. Like, comments is open. Talk yo ish, okay? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a technical coder. Hey, it's cool, man. Comments is open. That's all I got for y'all. So yeah, have a good night, and hopefully y'all have a good rest of the week. One. I'm Trek with 2Ks.